Welcome to Light Over Heat with Professor David Yamani. Today I want to talk about getting past the Duck Dynasty stereotype of gun owners. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So I've been talking about the false impression that the characters from Duck Dynasty represent all gun owners, or even the typical gun owner, since at least 2019. Most recently, I wrote an editorial for The Hill that I called The Unrecognized Diversity of Gun Owners, and they changed the title to Guns Are Not Just for Conservative White Men. Obviously a bit more provocative, but the point remains the same. Gun owners are diverse. And so I was very happy to see recently that the New York Times published an article with some very interesting multimedia components called The Tipping Point. And in that piece, they say America's newest gun owners are upending preconceptions about who buys guns and why. And so I really appreciated this. I thought it was a great example of seriously and in-depth reporting done on a topic that I care about a lot and that I know something about. I understand that it took almost 2 years to put this story together, so this is real reporting. And I don't want anybody to mistake what I'm saying here for a blanket criticism of the liberal media or the establishment media or the New York Times in particular. But there was a piece of that story that when I read the line, it just didn't hit me right. So reading from my monitor here, they write, a majority of gun owners are white, conservative, male, and from rural areas. And this is the Duck Dynasty preconception of gun owners, and it's just not empirically correct. So let me take a minute here and talk about the ways in which it's not correct, even though it points to something that is somewhat true about gun owners, which is that men, politically conservative from the South and white, are overrepresented among gun owners. But the statement that the majority of gun owners are at the intersection of those four identity factors is just not true. So I took some time to put together some high-tech graphics to demonstrate that. So here is the proportion of gun owners who self-identify as white. And as you can see, 78.9% of gun owners self-identify as white. Now, it's also the case that 70.2% of the sample, and here I'm using Pew Research Center American Trends Panel data from 2023. So gun owners are more white than the response sample as a whole, right? So that's something that is real and should be taken into consideration. Additionally, gun owners are 59.5% male, so men are overrepresented among gun owners relative to their population. In this sample, they're 47.6% of the sample. So like whites, males are also overrepresented among gun owners. That much is true. So 36.6% of all gun owners self-identify as conservative, and again, relative to the 31.8% of the overall sample in this case, identifying as conservative, conservatives are overrepresented among gun owners. As a percentage of gun owners, people who self-identify as coming from rural areas are 39.3%. This, again, overrepresents rural people among gun owners relative to the portion of the whole sample, which is 26.5%. So again, if we were going to create a profile of the typical gun owner or the statistically average gun owner, if we poured these variables into a multivariate statistical model predicting gun ownership, these variables would very likely be statistically significant predictors of gun ownership. But as I've long said, there's a problem with averages, and the problem with averages is that it hides underlying diversity, right? When we simply look at averages, we can actually get a misleading portrait of how things are. So I sometimes use the example. I didn't create the example myself, but the idea that the average American has one testicle and one ovary, right? This is statistically true. However, it hides a lot of the reality that we may be interested in. And again, thinking of gun owners as fitting a Duck Dynasty stereotype of being politically conservative white men from the rural South, as this New York Times article just did, I think is problematic. And let me show you why. Okay, I need to take you down to conjunction junction, right? What's your function? And, but, or. So the article says, and I'll quote again, reading from my monitor, a majority of gun owners are white, conservative, male, and from rural areas. Had they said or from rural areas, that would be true, because to say white or conservative or male or rural, that would encompass a huge proportion of all gun owners. But they say and I think that's important because a lot of people use that conjunction specifically because of this Duck Dynasty stereotype. So I used the data from the Pew Research Center to model that conjunction, right? So I said, show me all of the gun owners who are white and male and politically conservative and rural, and here's what I found, right? That is 12.2% of all gun owners, right? So nearly 90% of all gun owners do not fit that stereotype, right? And again, here I don't want to be giving the impression that I'm saying, oh, statistics lie, right? Damn lies and statistics, all of it is bullshit. Right? What I'm saying is that there are different legitimate ways to cut the pie, to slice the pie, right? I slice the pie in a way that fits with my ideas and interests about gun owners, which is to highlight the diversity of gun ownership, right? So hopefully this helps you to look at the issue of gun ownership in a more complex way rather than a more simplistic way. Hopefully it brings light to an issue which too often brings simply anger. Let me know what you think in the comments. If I brought some value in doing this work, please share the work so that others can learn about it.